4 years ago, I started a quick restoration of this BMW E30 Touring, and 4 years later I'm in it deeper than I ever have been. I almost blinded myself 3 times and I nearly chopped my finger off working on it. Brilliant, that went to plan then. However, I'm absolutely determined to get this car finished in the coming months, at which point one of you will either win the Touring or take 10k cash to buy an E30 with the steering wheel on the correct side if you so wish. And on that point, the raffle is now back on, and for those of you who took part previously, you'll receive a secret code via email to get your old tickets back and more. For those taking part for the first time, head to raffle.com/restore_it to get your tickets and be in with a chance to win the finished Touring or 10k cash. As I cannot increase the length of the raffle and I don't know exactly when the car will be finished, I'll be running the competition for 1 year, but as soon as the car is finished in the next few months, I'll end the raffle early and a winner will be drawn. The Touring will then be given to one of you or sold, making space for me to crack on with the 325i Sport, which has been in pieces now for more than 7 years, so I really should get that finished. Anyway, in this one I'm going to repair the rear left sill jacking point and the front of the rear left arch, both of which are completely rotten. There's quite a lot going on here. You've got the outer sill panel, the inner sill panel, the jacking support panel inside the sill, the inner rear arch panel and the outer rear arch panel to cut and replace. I'm not going to be talking too much in this episode as it's a lot of work that speaks for itself, but I will butt in, pardon the pun, when something unexpected happens, which it almost always does. To start things off, I'm going to use these strip discs to find out just how far the rust goes and where I should make my cuts. With the line marked and well away from the rust, I can now cut the outer panels and find out what's underneath. I bet it's going to be really good with zero rust. Oh look, it's rusty. I'm shocked. It looks like I'm going to have to cut the jack support bracket and the inner sill panel and make replacements for both. With both of those gone, I can move on to the outer and inner rear arch panels. The outer rear arch panel is still attached to the lip of the inner arch panel, which is just about holding on to the rest of the car, so I'll have to remove them both at the same time. As the rust continues onto the inner rear arch panel, I'm going to have to cut that out as well. With all of the rust gone, I'm now removing the undersill from around the cuts to make sure there isn't any more rust and so it doesn't catch fire when I weld the new bits in. So this is everything that I've just removed from the car, and it's everything that I'm going to have to remake from sheet metal. I was toying with the idea of replacing the entire sill panel in one go, but now that I can see inside of it, I'm glad I didn't. The rust only goes as far as I've cut. The rest is rust free until the front jacking point, which is something I'm going to do in a coming episode. Working backwards, I'm going to make the piece I cut out last first. As you can see, I'm having a hard time cutting this large piece out using metal shears. I've been using these things for years now, and for some reason I've only now thought to invest in a metal nibbler. Although these waste a bit more material, they make cutting shapes into thin sheet metal a breeze. This piece was complicated enough with its weird curve from top to bottom and side to side, combined with its weird shape, so I'm going to make the lip section separately once this is welded in. As some of you will know, and as some of you will be able to tell, I'm an amateur welder, and when it comes to setting up the welder for the particular job in hand, I'm doing a lot of guesswork / looking in the Artec manual for wire speeds and voltages for the particular metal thickness and wire gauge I'm working with, and it can be, quite frankly, a bit of a headache if you haven't already mastered it with many years of trial and error and experience. Well, thankfully, Artec Welding have just introduced a new digital range of MIG and TIG welders that do all of that work for you and get you welding with the correct settings in just 3 clicks. This is exactly what I've been daydreaming about. I had no idea Artec were working on this or that they were even available until they got in touch and asked if I'd like to swap out the old machine for the digital one. I of course said yes please, and so I'm going to try it out for the first time now. However, I am a bit worried. Now the machine is doing most of the work for me, my welding should massively improve, and if it doesn't, you'll all think I'm rubbish. But the truth is, I am a bit rubbish, and this welder has made that very obvious. I can tell you right now that this welder has produced some of the flattest and most perfect welds I have personally ever done, but what's so apparent to me now is that it's all in the technique, something I haven't fully mastered, especially when I'm welding in awkward places like this. The arm of the car lift gets in my way a lot during this episode, and it makes getting a perfect weld very difficult compared to having the car on a jig or welding on a welding table, for example. With the inner arch piece tacked in, I can now weld it in fully and dress the welds. I'm protecting all of the repairs with zinc-rich primer for the time being, and towards the end I'll remove all of it and replace it with epoxy primer, which will offer real protection. With that piece in, I can now make the lip of the inner arch panel. This is such an awkward piece to make, I'm going to make it in 2 pieces off of the car and then weld it in. Now that I've painstakingly finished this piece, I've just realised you can buy repair lips for these inner arch panels. Oh well, at least I know I can make my own if needs be. Now I can protect the backside and weld it in. Now that it's fully welded in place and cannot be removed, I can see that I've made a silly mistake. It's a bit too wide, especially at the bottom. To fix this, I've cut as much as I need to along the outside face of the piece, so when I compress them together, the bottom edge is sitting right where it needs to. Thank God that worked. Now to weld the two halves together whilst they're being pinched together and forget any of this ever happened. Now that looks more like it. So that's the inner arch panel done. If these panels were readily available, I would have just bought one, but they're so rare, this is the only way to get the job done quickly. I'll protect this for now while I move on to the inner sill panel. This has got to be the easiest piece of this repair. The only thing making it more difficult than it should be is my terrible cut line along the top of the piece. All I have to do is mark the line and remake it in metal. With that piece welded in place, something isn't quite right. This piece has got a ripple going through it like it's being squashed in place. It's not sitting straight like the rest of the panel. To rectify this, I'm going to make some stress relief cuts perpendicular to the ripple, which will allow me to move the separate sections into a straight line. Now that it's straight, I can weld the stress cuts to keep everything exactly where it is. Okay, so this is a great example of what I was talking about earlier. I was in a much better position for two of these welds compared to the other two. Can you guess which ones? The same setting on the same panel with two completely different results. Now the settings are automatically optimal, it's all down to technique, and I really like that. Now I can dress these welds, some more than others, and fill in any pinholes before I add some primer. So that's the inner arch and inner sill panels finished. Naturally, the next piece to deal with is the jack support brackets and jacking plate. There are 3 pieces in one here: the jacking plate at the bottom, the outer sill panel in the middle, and the jack support bracket on top. As the metal on the jack support bracket is still quite good, instead of making this piece from scratch, I'm going to salvage what I can of it and repair it. I've got new jacking plates and a new outer sill panel, so the other 2 sections are covered. Before I start stripping off the bits I don't need, I'm going to shot blast as much of the rust off as possible. With the rust gone, I can now more easily see what's going on. Now I can remove anything that I don't need. With the jacking plate gone, it's now just what's left of the sill panel to remove. With that now gone, I've got just the end of the jack support bracket, which I'm going to repair and weld back in. With the 2 weak spots cut and replaced with new metal, I can dress the welds and protect it on both sides. With that now protected on both sides, let's make sure we stay protected online. Did you know that there are data brokers out there who scan the web for your personal data without you realising, and then they sell that data to other companies, usually for advertising purposes, things like spam emails, phone calls, and targeted ads on websites. But what's much worse is that it can also be used by scammers and fraudsters, as that data can be used to impersonate you and sometimes even steal money from you. Did you also know that we all have the right to request that data be removed from the data brokers who sell it? The problem is that the process of finding out which brokers have your data and requesting it be removed is cumbersome and time consuming, particularly if you want to continually monitor the situation to make sure your data doesn't get acquired by them again in the future, which it often does. And so that's where Incogni comes in. Incogni is a service that actively reaches out to active data brokers on your behalf, handling any objections and offering continuous protection to make sure that your data stays off the market. All you have to do is create an account, grant them permission, and they take care of the rest. For me, in the first couple of days, they found a total of 49 brokers who all have my data, which is really concerning considering I try to be very careful with my privacy and my own personal data, so I'm genuinely really glad to have found out about this service. You can take your personal data back with Incogni. Use code RESTOREIT at the link in the description box below and get 60% off an annual plan. Thanks to Incogni for sponsoring this episode. Now the zinc rich primer is dry and doing its thing, I can weld the jack support bracket back in place. With the welds dressed and the bracket protected for now, I can move on to the outer panels. And this is where Car Van Bits comes in. As one of the UK's leading repair panel suppliers, these guys have over 2,000 high quality galvanised repair panels, like the ones you're seeing now, for an ever growing list of cars and vans, some of which are exclusive to Car Van Bits. They specialise in next day delivery for the UK and 3 to 5 day shipping for Europe and the rest of the world, so you can repair your car in good time and at a reasonable price. These guys were kind enough to support the channel by supplying the panels needed for the touring, and I can't thank them enough. If you could show them some love on eBay or Facebook, I'll leave those links below. And if you're in need of repair panels for your car or van quickly, be sure to check out carvanbits.co.uk at the link in the description and give them a try. The first panel I'm going to cut to size is the sill. I only need a very small part of this panel, so I can save the rest for the front of the car and the 325i Sport. And the same goes for the rear arch panel. As the arch is more complicated than the sill, I'm going to get that cut to size first. After a lot more back and forth, being careful not to cut too much off, I've got just what I need from the car van bits panel, nothing more, nothing less. And so now I can finish the sill panel. With it almost cut to size, I've come across a bit of an issue. That jacking support bracket I cut and welded back in is sat just a few millimeters lower than it was before. I must have left a larger gap than the cutting disc made. It's so close, but the sill panel just won't fit. Very annoying. The only fix, cut it out, change its height and weld it back in, taking the new gap left for the weld into account this time. Now that it's the right size and everything fits, I can continue getting the outer sill panel finished. With both outer panels cut to size and the holes drilled, I can protect the rear sides with zinc primer. While that's drying, I'm removing all of the zinc rich primer I added on the previous repairs to stop them from flash rusting and replacing it with 2-pack epoxy primer because once the outer panels are in, I won't be able to get to them anymore. And epoxy offers a lot more protection than zinc rich primer, but unlike zinc rich primer, it cannot be welded through. With that done, the whole area is looking much cleaner and more easy to understand. Now all I have to do is install the 3 final pieces, starting with the end of the now correct jack support bracket. With that back in QuickTime, I'm first going to install the sill panel as it tucks behind the rear arch panel where they overlap, and I want to keep that going in my repair. Before I can plug weld the outer sill to the inner, I need to remove the epoxy primer on the other side of the holes. To remove it, I'm using a pointy wire wheel bit in a Dremel and a loss of pressure. With all of the plug welds done, I can now dress the welds. And that's the outer sill panel finished. The jacking plate is still missing, but we'll come to that once the arch panel is in. Before I install the arch piece, I'm going to protect the sill panel where the two overlap. I'm having to make another cut where the two panels meet to make sure I can properly fill the space with weld. Now I can finish the top side, and that will be the outer joining edge done. I should have done this before I installed it, but I'm drilling holes so I can plug weld the outer and inner arch panels together. With the holes done, I'm pinning the two panels in place and removing the epoxy primer behind each hole. And that's those two edges done. Now I can focus on the bottom section. I drilled some more holes in the bottom lip because the ones that I did previously were sitting a bit too low. With all three edges now welded in, the last one is where the two sections meet. But much like the inner sill panel, the front side of the arch panel feels like it's being squeezed in place. So I'm going to make some relief cuts, make it flush and weld it along the seam. Before I dress all of the welds, I'm going to install the new jacking plate at the bottom of the sill panel, right underneath the jack support bracket. I really shouldn't be using these hammers to force things in place. But with that done, that's all of the pieces I took out put back in. Now I can dress all of the welds and fill any pinholes. Now that's looking a lot better. Well, at least from afar. When you get close, you can see it's covered in pinholes. I'm sure there won't be too many. Okay, there was a million, but I made sure I got them all. Before I sand these down, I'm going to make the bottom lip of the rear arch panel flush with the rest of the car, much like I did with the sill panel. And with that done, I can flatten all of the spot welds to finish the welding. And finally, with everything flat, I can protect all of the bare metal with epoxy primer. And that is the rear left jacking point and front of the rear left wheel arch finished. Most of this won't be seen once the undercoating is applied and the trim has been put back on, but it's nice to know it's all completely fresh and rust free right where it counts. As an amateur welder and fabricator, these episodes take me way longer to make than they should, so instead of doing loads of repairs in one episode and posting once every 2 months, I'm going to break it down into more consistent, shorter episodes. At least that's the plan. I still have a few repairs to do towards the back of the car, but I'd say the majority of it is now done. Don't forget to get your tickets at raffle.co.uk/restore_it today, as I will be ending the raffle much earlier than the timer on the raffle page. So that's all for this one. Thank you so much for watching and sticking with me through all of these injuries and delays. We're now fully back, so stay tuned for more coming very soon. Bye for now.